Star Trek: The Next Generation was a show.
Star Trek: The Next Generation
everybody I
was
interacted
a
with
show that I started watching when I was a really little kid. Can you believe it's been 30 years? Star Trek: The Next Generation first.
Star Trek: The Next Generation was my life as a kid. It was the escape from reality. Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha Schaudies take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 1990. Or if you're living in this century, welcome to 2020.
Woohoo!
It's been a long road. Getting from there to here.
We made it though.
Yep.
In hindsight.
Cause you got faith at the heart. Anyway, so this episode is The Defector. It's January 1st, 1990. 2020, so everybody's probably nursing a party hangover, or that thereof. What's this episode about, Pat?
This is one of the best Star Trek: The Next Generation episodes that has come out so far, and I feel like it's kind of forgotten because it's overshadowed by what happened afterwards. But there's continuity. Things are referenced that happened before. There are character moments for every character, except Wesley, who's not in it. And it's a tightening of everything. There was an article recently about the episode of The Bonding, which we put out this week. It came out in October. That said that was kind of the reset for the show. But I feel like this is the true reset where Ronald D. Moore was like, no, I'm going to establish, what the relationships between all these people are in a professional sense, not in a friendship sense, as we've been doing for a while. Because we are all friends on the Enterprise, but when everybody has a job to do, we get to see what that looks like in this episode, and it is pretty impressive.
Okay, well, with that, we just want to do some quick introductions. We have a gaggle of guests today. So on the far right, we have Matt.
Hello.
And then Patrick.
Hey, hey.
And then Jem.
Hello.
There's me, Sascha. And then we have Nigel.
Hey everyone.
Woohoo! Okay, so go ahead and cue up your device. We're going to give you the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
We open on a field in England.
Yeah, it looks like some Shakespearean moment here.
Okay.
We have
2 English majors in the room.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Which play is this?
This is Henry V.
Henry V.
And you got Patrick Stewart playing one of the two guys.
Ha! Appropriate,
Yeah.
because he used to be
Yeah.
a Shakespearean actor.
If you were interested to know, Stewart is using a regional English accent called Black Country
Huh.
in the areas between Birmingham and Wolverhampton. Oh.
Next time you have to say those in an English accent. Birmingham and...
Birmingham.
And we're used to seeing this now as people that are watched Star Trek all the way through. But I just wonder what people thought they were seeing when they turned this on in 1990.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's like a Shakespeare scene, and I recognize Patrick Stewart's voice, but now it's like clearly Data dressed up.
But Next Gen was pretty established by now.
Yeah, but not with doing these kind of scenes.
Okay.
I don't know who the actor is here.
I always thought it was really weird and cringeworthy when they opened with a holodeck scene because it doesn't provide a lot of context. You're just like, what's going on?
Right.
Well, this does. It really, this whole episode is about how Picard thinks about things and compartmentalizes them. And he's about to tell Data that, the best way for him to learn about humanity And, you should qualify it within his opinion, but Picard truly believes that, learning Shakespeare is going to teach Data everything he needs to know.
In this scene, actually, Patrick Stewart is playing two characters at the same time. So he is Picard and he is the pikeman there. Yeah, I never understood why Shakespeare is considered one of the go-tos for exploring the human condition. Can the English majors chime in on that?
Well, this one can't, because I've never really been a huge fan of Shakespeare. And back when I was an English education major, I always thought, if I had my way, I probably wouldn't teach Shakespeare in my class. But,
Well, even though he has a wide range of plays, they all speak to the human condition. I mean, arguably, there are other works that you could choose, but I think Shakespeare is widely recognized, and there's a lot of universality to his plays.
Well, there's romance, there's betrayal, there's anger, there's jealousy, lust. I mean, it's got it all. We just watched The Lion King the other day. That's
the Favreau Lion King, or the brand new one?
The brand new one,
okay.
The Lion King is based on Hamlet, so...
Data looks so funny in a wig. So Picard and Data have been pulled off the holodeck and they're on their way to the bridge. Riker said, hey, there's an unidentified craft coming out of the neutral zone, which is a really tender topic in this show. Anytime you say neutral zone, you know something bad is going to happen. And then we get the nice Ron Jones music going there. Romulan scout ship on the way.
Captain, shall we transmit a warning?
Scouting.
Captain, the Romulan is healing us.
This actor who plays they always done a really good job picking their Romulan actors.
Yes, this guy's great.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
I think this guy's name is James Sloyan, Sloyan.
On screen, Captain.
And I'm assuming he's been on other things.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, here comes some action. We've got a warbird chasing a scout ship. Wonderful. So one of the complaints, what was that complaint you were bringing up, Matt?
That there wasn't enough action in some of these.
Right. As a kid, I would have been bored to death by this episode because it's all talking. There's a little bit of chase and a little bit of ships appearing out of nowhere, but the talking episodes were never exciting for me. Even though, and especially since this one has Data in much more of a military role than an exploratory role throughout the whole thing. Picard is going to enlist Data to chronicle everything that's going to happen during this encounter, because his record, he very much believes, may be called into question. We're seeing a Picard that is like, I could be dead or without my captaincy within days, depending on what happens here. And anybody else on my ship could be asked to step into command. And I need to prepare them all for that.
Yes, no. The reason he puts it on there is he says that this is going to start a war.
Yeah.
And not that he's going to lose his captaincy, that there needs to be a record of how the war started.
But his choice that he makes, if Starfleet Command determines that he made the wrong choice during this, he's going to go down in history as like the idiot that started this conflict with the Romulans.
Well, yeah. I don't think that's what's motivating why he has Data recording it. I think it's just, we need someone to record this.
Yeah. And you know, the person who wrote this, Ronald D. Moore, the writing style can be seen in his other works in Battlestar Galactica and also DS9, where you have that political intrigue with the slight chance of danger and all cards on the table kind of circumstances. Now this, as a kid, just raised my adrenaline through the roof. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're shooting at things. You've got three-dimensional movement in space, in combat, and that's something we really haven't seen too much of, other than the War Games episode.
Yeah.
They did that as well.
To me, as a kid, I mean, I love the Romulans now, but it's like that ship showed up and not a Klingon ship, and it's like, okay, this means that the rest of this thing is just going to be talking.
The Romulans are talking, the Klingons are fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
I always thought it was funny, even as a kid, he's flying this ship with a tiny little keypad about the size of a dinner plate right in front of him. I would imagine sticking rudder still in space. Oh well. This actor here, where was it? James. I think he pulls a really good Romulan. I've noticed for all the Romulan actors they bring in always have really distinctive voices.
Yes.
They almost sound like either they've been smoking for 20 years or that they've got, that evil laugh to them. Wahahaha, Tomalak, we see him in this episode.
Yes, we do. He does say something when Tomalak shows up. He's got a great line about how, they want to hang the hull of the Enterprise, in the hall of the Romulan Senate. And you just think about how huge the hall of the Romulan Senate is. That the hull of the Enterprise could fit up there, with all of their other trophies.
He'll make room for it.
Yeah.
So this guy who plays our defector Romulan has actually been in a lot of Star Trek. He was also in Buck Rogers of the 25th Century. I don't know if you knew that. But he was several characters. He was actually played the future adult version of Alexander Roshenko. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, nice. That was a good episode.
That's in the Firstborn, yeah. He was in Deep Space Nine as a Bajoran scientist, Dr. Mora. That's Odo's quote-unquote father.
Oh, yeah.
Bajoran. He was also in The Begotten and The Alternate, and he was also in a Voyager episode. It's like, he's done a lot with Star Trek.
Mr. Star Trek.
He's a veteran.
Yeah. That's a beautiful ship.
Yeah.
I would love to have that. If someone said, here, have a free ship, I would not be disappointed if they gave me that Romulan scout ship.
Would you be disappointed with any ship, though?
No, I would take the RV of Star Trek and one of those runabouts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want one of the early season 1 shuttle pods, though. Those are just terrible looking ships.
So what this guy has come to the ship to tell them is that they're building the Romulans have built this giant base on Nirvana 3, which is over the edge of the neutral zone, that is somehow the Federation has not been able to see.
Yeah, so the idea is that, is it in the neutral zone? Or
No,
is
it's
it
on
just
the other
next
side
to
of
it?
the neutral zone.
Oh, okay. So the idea is that they're worried that this new base may host an invasion.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this guy defected because he wants to prevent a war
Yes.
by betraying information. Well, this is very much an everyone has their own job episode.
Yeah.
Actually, you can kind of see more of the classic next-gen forensic analysis, where the science and the writing help uncover the true plot. I remember they go back and they look at the footage of the pursuit or something, and that's the big reveal.
He really wants Picard to be the one to interrogate him.
Why is that?
Well, he's saying right now that he's just a clerk. He's actually an admiral in disguise.
Oh.
And so Picard delegates this to Riker and Troy to interrogate the guy, which I wish we had seen more of. Would have been fascinating to see that.
And he's more in the level of admiral that he is. He would know about Picard and Riker, and he would know that Riker's not quite there yet, and that Picard is a seasoned.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he knows about the whole crew because he reveals this to Data later on, where he's looking at him in 10 forward and goes, "Oh, you're the android." And he goes,
"Well, everyone would know about Data. Data's like the Captain America of the Federation. I mean, he's the only one. It's not like just like Worf, the only Klingon in the Federation,
and it's the flagship, so
yeah,
you're gonna know. So here's an interesting thing where they have the shuttle. They say, "Hey, at least we have the shuttle we can take apart for." To learn military secrets, and then the shuttle just exploded.
And Jordy's just like, you had to say that, didn't you?
So here's our big, and they almost never do this, where they reference previous continuity. Beverly's like, yeah, we had call to work on some Romulans recently. He's like, oh yes, the Galandan Core incident. which is again a tell because Riker's like, why would a clerk know about what happened on Galandan Core?
And if you notice when she was doing that, she kind of glared at Worf when she mentioned that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because Worf refused to donate blood to save that individual. Now this is your. Here the Romulan is trying to justify why he destroyed his shuttle. And he's pretty much saying, you know, I just want to stop a war. I don't want to sell out my people. So I'm not going to give you the secrets of the cloaking device.
That actually could be interpreted as an act of war to steal Romulan technology.
Oh, yeah.
And backdoor secrets.
We did that a lot with the Russians in the Cold War and subs. We had a number of their subs go down that we tried to get aboard after they'd sunk. And the last act of the crew, even with our subs, is to scuttle them so that you can't get in there. If your ship is disabled, submariners, they sign basically a thing that they can't be captured. The captain scuttles the ship with all hands on board.
Wow.
And either destroy it or sink it to the deepest possible crush depth to prevent being captured.
So we get a little Romulan Klingon antagonization there.
Riker's response to this is not appropriate.
Well, his response is that he uses his own swear words against him.
Yeah. This is like like a youth basketball coach if he's got like two kids of two different races fighting and calling each other racial slurs, and then also uses racial slurs to break up the fight.
Yeah. Well, Riker's all about asserting dominance. That's probably why he wanted Picard to interrogate him rather than Riker, because Riker has never been a really smart guy when it comes to diplomacy. He's always been leading headstrong. He wants to dominate the situation, and he usually will wait to defer a major decision unless he absolutely has to make a call.
Yeah, that's why he's not a captain yet.
Yeah,
he's the first officer. He's he's not there yet. Whereas Picard already has 30 years experience before even setting foot on the Enterprise.
Yeah, but as a first officer, you think he'd have a little bit more skill.
Yeah.
Yes and no. It's a learning position. That's why they have a lot of those. Is first officers move on, and then that's why they comment on it. That you've been a first. Later on is you've been a first officer for 6 years. We only envisioned you being here 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. Get the experience you need, and then become a captain.
Yeah.
Maybe not of a full-size Galaxy class, but we give you a small, scout ship or, small frigate or something like that somewhere, and you move your way up,
So he's checking out his quarters.
And Chekhov's poison pill is going to come out of his boot.
Chekhov's?
So, Chekhov's, the deal with Chekhov's gun, right?
Ah, no.
If you see a gun in the first act of a play, it must be fired by the third act of a play.
Oh.
That's Chekhov's gun.
Oh, okay.
So basically, any knife or device or whatever that can cause you harm, if it shows up in a prominent way, you have to use it later on.
Yeah, not check off the guy from.
Yeah, I was wondering, who's this Chekhov that you're talking about? The writer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anton Chekhov.
Technically, Chekhov is still alive in this era.
Huh.
Yeah.
They reference him. He's Grand Admiral Chekhov, the highest, most senior admiral.
Makes sense.
Picard references him in the second season as still being around.
My ready room. Computer delay time.
A delay time. That's not the first time they've mentioned that. There's a delay in communication. I never understood, though, how sometimes the delay can be really long, and other times it's instant communication.
Depends what the story called for, because they've been at the neutral zone before and didn't have a delay.
Right.
This guy looks familiar.
So Picard's just essentially checking his voicemail at the moment.
Pretty much, yeah.
And some admiral, which we never see again. I would have loved to see Admiral Nechayev in here.
Well, she shows up for the first. No, she doesn't. I thought she showed up for the first time this season, but I was thinking of Commander Shelby.
Yeah. The two are very similar, actually.
Yeah.
So Picard's got this voicemail, and it pretty much, what is he saying? Check it out, proceed along the border, but it's pretty much your call. So Picard's put in the very uncomfortable position of he has to make the decision. Starfleet just put it right back on him.
Yep.
So that's either a lot of trust or they're setting him up as the fall guy.
Yep. It could be either one, but
This is Admiral. I don't want any part of this. Returning your call.
Yeah.
That admiral was just on the retirement plane. Do 2 years as an admiral and then retire.
Yeah, it's just like big old nope. All on you, Jean-Luc. I got a thing with the guys, and then just leaves.
So here's our Geordi Data combo, where they do the forensic analysis, and they realize the warbird is just faking a pursuit, and that they're deliberately missing with their weaponry on the shuttle. So it seems as though the Romulans want this individual to escape. So now they're starting to entertain the idea that the guy didn't really defect. That it's part of a Romulan plot, a ploy to start a war. Sorry, those are 2 questions. Oh, wait, I'm referencing the final episode.
It'd be funny if you just heard Q laugh suddenly in the background, just like nobody else hears it. You just hear him go, "Ha!
Yeah.
We'll see."
Oh, another voicemail. More ships are coming in.
Yeah, it was one of those. Well, there's a lot of space traffic right now, so we may or may not get there in time.
So everybody's on yellow alert. Fleet-wide yellow alert. That's kind of a big deal.
except the Enterprise, obviously.
Yeah, they're fine. They're right there. They know how bad it is.
They should be on condition red.
Yeah.
This close to the neutral zone with having direct conflict with an armed Romulan ship.
They get there in a minute, but
have we ever noticed that cross-cut geode thing behind Picard there at his desk?
Yeah, no, I hadn't before. No,
I think that's new in the last couple episodes.
Kind of looks like a ham.
Yeah. It's my model ham. I built it when I was in culinary school.
It's a French ham.
Yeah.
So here's where Picard is asking Data to keep a record of the events to memorialize what's going on, because we might actually start a war and we want an unbiased point of view.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, he wants an unbiased. Not that he's afraid he's going to get badly judged. That seems a little egotistical.
Well, they would go over his captain's log with a fine-tooth comb.
No, right,
at his court-martial if this goes wrong.
Right, but I don't think it's Picard worrying about his reputation or his ego. It's more of there needs to be somebody who isn't a Federation person putting a Federation spin, not for the court-martial, but for history. I mean, that was his direct words: "is a dispassionate view for history, not for the inevitable court-martial or investigation, or to make sure that I'm not held responsible."
Data is still susceptible to bias, though. He will call people out with judgment statements.
He can, but if he can go into computer mode.
Mm-hmm. Well, when they talk about Custer in a little bit, I mean, you wish that you had somebody like Data in the era of Custer.
Yeah,
because it's all that it is conjecture and circumspect.
Well, for almost anything like Columbus,
So
and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just.
I just noticed a production error. So you see Troy and Riker interrogating this individual. On the opening shot of the scene, you saw a third person in the room, like a security guy, and he was wearing the old uniform with the gold stripe.
They still wear
several people on the ship have those on.
They still wear those all the way into the 6th and 7th season.
Really? I thought they got rid of those.
No, it's just we don't have the size for an extra.
So they pull out an old polyester Halloween costume from the dumpsters, like, here, wear this. It's from season 1. You just air it out a little bit. It'll be fine.
Sometimes in the military, in some cases, old uniform items, or if they're still called serviceable, you can wear them, even if they're not the current model, depending on what they are.
Oh, hey, they are talking to the Klingons, and why are they doing
Worf
that?
is, yeah. Did you catch the name of the ship, though?
Bortus?
Bortus, which is the name of the Klingon standing character on the Orville.
Oh, that's right. They sent out a little probe, and they are scanning. So this is also where we learn that Picard always has a plan B.
Well, he had a plan C, D, E, and F in this, which was all of his command staff had a huge part to play.
So would you say that this episode is really falling around Data in a way? Because he's there in almost every scene.
It's because he's been told to be like the proverbial watcher. So he's basically going around and recording everybody's actions.
But this is a great. I mean, they're going to have a hard time when they do the reports for Data to assign motive to stuff. But both Picard and having him go through the Shakespeare thing, and now Geordi is telling him, like, yeah, your feelings in situations, especially like this one, matter just as much as facts, which is why Picard stepped back.
Alright. So, Matt, if Data's the Watcher, you said, that means we're watching the Watcher? That satisfies the title of the episode. We are watching who are watching the Watchers.
That's not what we're watching, though.
I know. I'm just making a bad joke with the episode titles.
Very bad.
Yes.
Help us fill in the missing pieces because we almost never have.
So Data and Geordi are kind of having a conversation about supposition, where we don't know what's going on. We're making guesses that fit the facts. And I'm really surprised that Data is confused by this concept so far along in his career.
Yeah, that always comes up. Because he would have had to have had extensive training on stuff like this just to get, receive a command.
Or just been around it.
Yeah.
To where, it's...
Well, it can still be confusing depending on the circumstances, particularly in the light of the fact that war about to start. It could just be a reaction like, why are they relying on their conjecture when we need to focus on the facts right now?
Or, Data could have just winged it all the way up, like he did the bare minimum on a certain number of things, and his other attributes got him promoted. And now he's required to fill in these missing gaps in his quest to understand humanity.
Yeah, they talk about it in that Picard autobiography that he was predominantly an analyst before he was put on the bridge of the Enterprise. The admiral that had him before basically just kept him in an office, and his job was to process, analyze, and they didn't have him out there doing other stuff. It was just one of those, hey, we got this going on and this going on. Tell me what tell me what I need to look at here. And then Picard brought him out, and you start seeing him for his other act, develop. So it's possible he really never really used or explored that area because he was more used as a tool than a member of the crew.
That's true, and they give Picard gives Data a great opportunity to see what's going on. I mean, he's got shotgun to all the big things that are happening. So Data is in the 10 forward here, and he's just lurking. He's looking at this Romulan, and the Romulan says, "Hey, why are you staring at me? Did you want to talk?" So now they're having a conversation. And the Romulan just pretty much says, I know a lot of guys who would love to take you apart right now and see how you work.
Phrasing, Sasha.
Well, that's pretty much what he says. I don't know if that's a threat or a compliment for Data.
Well, that's what Data said. He's like, I don't like that. That's not cool.
Oh, I forgot. This is where Data tries to appeal to the feelings of our Romulan friend here by taking him to the holodeck. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Don't you love how it's suspenders and a belt on those Romulan uniforms?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. So the Romulan asked for Romulan ale. The one time they don't have a glass anywhere is when they need it.
He could have probably gone up to Guinan and asked if she had any. And
Yeah, she would have had like 5 varieties. And
She would have been like, sure I do. Thing is, you guys drink this all the time. I know a lot of people that are only going to get one glass. I think I'll save it.
So, looks like our Romulan is just justifying what he did to Data. He says he does not want to start a war. He did what he had to do. He's never going to be able to go home. Like, he lays it all out, as he knew that he would be separated from his society for the rest of his life in order to save the society that he loved.
To be exiled from your own home. It does appear unlikely you will ever be allowed to return to your home.
Oh, Data. The cold reaction of an android, says the Romulan. You will never go home. You screwed up.
But perhaps we can bring Romulus to you.
Program complete.
So Data is going onto the holodeck.
After you.
Now, how funny would it be if it was like a Worf modification of a Romulan program where it's just a whole bunch of Klingons slaughtering?
Well,
Romulans?
what would have been fun is if he had been like, I know what this place is, but it hasn't looked like this for like 85 years.
Right.
And it's like, well, that was the last time we were able to get photo surveillance of your planet, and we had to base it.
Well, no, they do that because when they do the episode with Spock, remember they have a long-range telephoto of Spock.
Yeah.
So if they could find one guy on the planet, they could. What gets me is we'll actually get to go to Romulus eventually, and it looks nothing like this.
Well, not the part of the planet that we went to.
That was Yosemite Park version of Romulus.
It's a really big stage, that holodeck. It has to be at least 3 stories tall.
Yeah, I wonder if that's not the area that they put the warp core and stuff in when they need it.
Myself and Captain Picard.
Oh, here's the reveal. Tell them Admiral Jarok wants to see him.
I couldn't tell if he actually emphasized Admiral or not, or he
Yeah.
just said
Yeah,
it
he
kind of
did.
casually.
He did. We have confirmed you've got the man. Voicemail again. Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
So Starfleet says, don't listen to anything this guy says. He's not legit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we understand why the Romulans might have let him go.
Received, Admiral Jara. Captain, there is no more time. Admiral,
He looks so two-dimensional right there in
Yeah.
his uniform.
You know what they call that uniform?
No.
It's called a Romule.
The raw mule.
Yeah.
A raw mule.
Yeah. So when, they're getting ready for work, people are like, yeah, your Romule on?
Well played.
Yes! Everyone stop what you're doing and clap!
That one hurts.
Do you need that pumpkin over there? Can I throw it really quick?
I mean, we can all rage quit right now.
And after your Romule's been through the dryer and there's some static on it, people ask, do you have your Klingon?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't sign up for this.
Neither did I. Can I take my name off this now?
This guy gets Picard, or just his rebuttal to Picard is so good. I mean, Picard completely brushes it off, but
He's probably like the same kind of level as Picard is.
Yeah.
Both been around a long time. And there's somewhat, even for a Romulan, and there's somewhat principled. Because he's defecting, but not, again, I'm not giving away Romulan secrets. I'm trying, like you said, I'm trying to stop a war.
but he's about to give away Romulan secrets. He does eventually tell him a bunch of stuff that, that turns out it's all BS, but he didn't know that.
No, I mean like Romulan technology, like how the cloaking device works.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly the conversation they're having right now, is that Picard knows he has an unreliable witness, and that information is not known to the Admiral. So Picard is basically saying, hey, if you want us to follow your lead, you're going to have to give me something of equal value.
Or something that I can verify. Yeah. And that's the way any one of the type of these interrogations would go by is...
I wonder if the Admiral could give up the defense plans for Minos Corva.
The big question here, though, is like Patrick says, is why is either Picard, Riker, or Troy... Troy, I would have sit in on the but not say anything because she can read, emotion if he's lying enough.
Yeah.
But every starship, especially the flagship, if you think about it, this is basically an aircraft carrier, would have an intelligence officer.
This is the exchange here where he asks Picard if he has any children. Picard says no. He says, and you've already sacrificed too much for your career.
That actually comes back to haunt Picard
in the
future.
I mean, he totally brushes it off here. He's all, yeah.
When you have kids, you'll understand kind of thing.
But you'll also understand in never having children what you gave to Starfleet.
Well, Picard's, if you want to dive into the world of Picard really quick, he always hoped that Rajan and Rajan's son, I can't remember the name of his nephew. Rene, that's right. When Rene passed away, that was actually what really hit him because that ended the Picard line. He was kind of hoping Rene would be able to carry the family name, basically relieving Picard of that burden.
So I'm also curious, I was thinking about it after I watched this episode, if this guy's daughter isn't going to end up being one of the people in Star Trek Picard.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. It would make a lot of sense, because Picard's been carrying this letter that he wrote to his family for all these years.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Her father is a traitor.
I like the idea, but I don't think that's possible.
I mean, there's plenty of Romulans to be had.
And Voyager gives all those letters to the Romulan from the past.
He dies before he...
Oh. All these undeliverable letters.
The mail service in the future is incredibly unreliable.
So the Admiral got away without giving up any state secrets. All he was able to give up was, I have a child.
He does. The Romulans have been feeding him all this bogus information that he does give to the Enterprise people, and then they have to throw it out.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. So Picard comes in, does an announcement to the team saying he laid out all the plans. So now we need to verify these plans.
Data regarding engines, weapons, and the cloaking systems of the Warbird class starship.
Wow.
But I believe his experience as a field commander will be more valuable for its strategic sense than in the technical areas.
Any age will help.
So LaForge could look a little bit more excited about knowing how to get into Romulan technology.
Well, he's getting a second-hand account from an admiral, though.
It's like, I'm just going to give you this really great new car, but in order for us to pick it up, we have to cross into this war zone.
And remember, they've said already that the engines on the Enterprise are completely different than what the engines are on Romulan ships. They can't incorporate any of that technology. A cloaking device, yes, but not as far as...
And even then, they had trouble with it in the original series, saying the technology just overheated our systems.
So here we have Data giving a rare witness account saying, due to this treaty of, what is it, Algeron, or whatever the name
treaty
was.
Of Algeron.
We are now violating this treaty. We are the aggressors, charging into the neutral zone at Red Alert. I think they even have their weapons ready.
Red Alert means your weapon, your battle stations.
You're ready to go. There's the planet coming into view.
That's what always gets me is when they're at Red Alert and then he says, armed photon torpedoes. Like, well, they should already be armed. Your phaser's charged. You just have to press the button.
In the best of both worlds, I think Riker arms the photon torpedoes 3 times in one scene. I think it was just bad editing.
It's like in movies when you see guys with shotguns and they're going in the battle and they're constantly recocking it. And it's like, all right, well, you've just ejected 3 shells. What are you doing here?
So they're looking at the planet. Very good for SD.
Yeah, it is.
They've done a lot of work on improving their graphics on the show. I think in exchange for fewer instances. So you see more talk, but you see higher quality special effects. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no scarring on the planet.
In fact, they did that with Battlestar Galactica. They dumped the majority of their budget into the CGI, and then they reused the same set like 20 times to the part where it was painfully obvious. Well, Admiral, where's the base?
There doesn't appear to be a base.
I was here yesterday. I mean, we had hot cocoa and s'mores. We went swimming in the lake.
Oh, no base, no weapons, no sign of any life at all.
Picard does a good hard press.
I saw the tactical communiques, the records, timetables for completion.
So he's in denial.
He's not. He saw all this stuff. As far as he was concerned, he was telling them the truth.
Well, that's the thing, is that he's going through, he's rechecking his reality.
Yeah. It's completely set up.
Been censored. Reassigned 4 months ago, they knew of your dissatisfaction.
Oh, did they ever talk about why they transferred him?
No.
So they could gaslight him, basically.
So you would do this.
It's impossible.
This is exactly why they did it. But he was being verbally, I don't like this, and the Romulan government just said, all right, well, maybe we can make him useful again and feed him disinformation, push him over the edge. And,
I mean, they already said, they fake chased him. He didn't realize it, but the Enterprise already has.
Permission to withdraw from the neutral zone.
Oh yeah, they never shared that information with the Admiral.
Yeah.
Alright. Geordi's not
was
the
like, what?
flight controller.
it'd be like, it'll be a minute, I have to come up to the bridge, but sure.
Oh, and they're the Romulans.
Really, Worf? You're going to give us the coordinates?
Don't look, I'll tell you. Just keep your eyes closed. Those are such massive ships. I always wondered if they had a hard time getting the scale, because those Romulan warbirds are about, 2.5 times larger in volume to the Enterprise?
Well, not in volume, in surface mass.
Okay.
Because remember, they're hollow inside.
That's what I'm talking about.
And the only occupied areas are that front nose area, and then along the spine and down the back end where their
ears. Good old Tomahawk.
Oh, we love this guy.
Now, if he was still alive, he is the Romulan they should have brought back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely.
As you can see.
Oh, what is his name? It's Andreas Katsoulas. That's such a cool name. He's actually really happy.
Oh yeah, we
guy.
have a probe, orbiting probe.
Too bad he died in 2006, unfortunately.
So he lived about another 16 years after this.
Yeah.
He's the Marla Roman of the Romulan Empire.
Would you have us believe this satellite is an excuse for your aggressive charge across the neutral zone? You can believe what you wish. We will be on our way. Without even an apology, Captain.
Yeah, if that would work, I'll do it. Yeah.
I'm afraid it won't. So I will save you the humiliation. Get to it, Tomahawk. You see, Picard, after we dissect your Enterprise for every precious...
Oh, it's the quote! It's the quote you were talking about. I intend to display its broken hull.
It will inspire our armies for generations to come, and serve as a warning to any other traitor who would create...
Okay, I guess it was just as a kid that I imagined it like being mounted on the wall. No, it sounds like it'd be more like in the middle of like a Central Park or something.
That's a big park for. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, honestly, if it were me, I'd say, okay, just cut out like a couple hundred feet of the hall and just put it in each park. Kind of like what they do with the 9/11 memorial. Seems
and the old spacecrafts too, all the different pieces that are at science museums for kids to climb around in.
Yep.
You will return the traitor Gerald.
So the low budget science museum has like the spaceship toilet.
Yeah,
that's the most popular piece of the ship.
I was gonna say that's
people are probably paying a lot of money to get the toilet.
Here's the door handle.
You have 30 seconds.
So he has 30 seconds to decide whether to surrender or fight. And the captain is not having it.
Consider the men and women you would lead into a lost cause.
If the cause is just and honorable, they are prepared to give their lives.
I love Tom's response to this. He's just like, you're so full of shit. Yeah, I expected more from you than an idol. If the cause is just and honorable. Yeah, all I did was put a probe there. Nobody's going to say that was a just and honorable cause to fight me on your ship.
There is Picard's backup.
Yep. Worf called in the Klingons.
Oh, the Klingons would love it, because the Klingons really hate the Romulans.
Yeah, and they used the music from the motion picture for the Klingons, too.
Did they? Yeah,
yes.
they do have a theme.
Yeah, it's the official Klingon theme.
Shall we die together?
I'm telling you, the orchestration on this show is just amazing. I remember watching a behind the scenes where they would play the cut scene in front of the orchestra while they were playing the music, and they would make on-the-spot adjustments.
Look how happy Worf is about that.
Oh, yeah.
He's showing his emotion on this more than anybody else is.
At least he's not pointing his phaser at the screen.
Yeah.
Mr. Worf, will you extend the appreciation of the Federation and my personal gratitude to the Klingons?
Aye, sir.
Well, again, it was a team effort, but his was the piece of the action that paid off the most.
Yes. Well,
And then when they give the attaboys, Worf's going to get the biggest attaboy.
Yeah. Can you imagine being on those warbirds and all these Klingons are like, yeah, we showed the Romulans.
I imagine more than a few would say, "Oh man, we can't kill Romulans today."
Oh, there is no fighting. We almost fought. Oh, here's your Chekhov's rule.
He ingested a Protestant ship.
Yeah.
He must have brought it with him. I'm sorry, Captain. There was no antidote.
A letter to
But she didn't scan him with the tricorder or use the awake.
Yeah.
hypo. She just stood there and was like, yeah, he's dead.
She does that a lot.
Yeah.
She'll just walk up, no, he's dead, and then other times, no, if we get him back to the ship fast enough, we can save him.
Yeah,
Well,
you didn't put the funny things on his forehead.
That would be a good. That would have been a cool pastiche for like something that they did with Shinzon later to show Beverly like actually does give him an awake hypo. She doesn't know what he took, and he like sits up and goes, "You remind me a lot of your younger days."
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, I can see that. Well, there we go. That was the end of the episode. What are our thoughts? What is our response to this?
I'll let Matt go first and just.
It was a good one. Again, they give everybody their assigned roles. Again, I always go over the little minutia things. They would have had. I feel they would have had an intelligence officer, somebody who's in charge of this kind of intelligence gathering,
Or at least a captain of the guard.
What do you mean, a captain of the guard?
Or just someone responsible for the onboard security.
No, that's Worf. He's
That's
the
Worf.
security. An intelligence officer is somebody like what Worf does on Deep Space Nine, strategic operations.
Okay.
His job is basically to be up on it. His job is to interrogate. Knows all the current spy operations. Is the intelligence officer. You'd have those on on a capital ship that size. Especially the flagship. You'd have somebody, a representative of Starfleet intelligence. You'd have, the ship's, a modern aircraft carrier has an intelligence section. They have analysts on there. They got people running, interfacing with the, naval intelligence and CIA and NSA, and they're looking through, okay, well, we have heard chatter that, an admiral was removed recently in the Romulan fleet. This is probably him. So Picard wouldn't have to go and verify these things with long-range communications.
Okay.
You'd be able to go down to the intelligence section
and just talk to him. It's like, hey, what's
and
going
say, what's going on? Have we heard anything on the Romulans talking about this? Is there any chatter about the Romulans moving ships and supplies to this region? And they'd be like, yeah, well, our operatives have said, yes, we've heard a lot of these same communiques, or no, we've heard absolutely nothing. This guy's full of shit, kind of stuff.
With the problem with having that on the Next Generation, though, it would have thrown off the vibe of it, because he would have sort of been more on Starfleet's side and less on, the cohesive group side.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing,
We saw it with, when they assigned Michael Eddington to Deep Space Nine, that, like, he was very present, but he was not part of the group at all. Because they wanted to rely on their Bajoran security officer.
And that's a little different because Deep Space Nine, it's a Bajoran station, it's run by the Federation, versus a Federation starship.
Jem and I are kind of giggling because we have a drinking game where every time someone says Bajoran, we take a shot.
Aww.
And we find it absolutely hilarious that Bajoran has been said at least 3 times in context to the past conversation, and probably 6 times now. Bajoran.
I'm drunk.
Yeah, on a show that has no Bajorans in it. So what do you? Let's do Flotus chips. How many Flotus chips do you give it?
Oh, I really like this one. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It's still really good. It's still a really... I love any episode with the Romulans.
Yeah.
They're my favorite, antagonist in the Next Generation.
And you really like their ships too.
Give or take their ships. I think there's a lot of wasted space, and it just looks weird.
Oh, I read you wrong.
Okay,
Pat, how about you? Flotus chips.
I give it 5 out of 5. It wasn't an episode that I was super familiar with before I sat down to watch it for the show. And I've now, with this recording, I've seen it 3 times in 3 weeks. And I have not been bored by it. And I probably have more that I could say about it. Like, we could probably record again. I would have other stuff to say. There's just so much going on. It really shows, the cohesiveness of this crew. It was really impressive. And like I said, when I was a little kid, the Romulan and the talkie stuff I didn't like. But as I've grown older, just how the Enterprise functions really kind of fascinates me. So, yeah, one of the best episodes that's come out so far.
Cool. Jem, do you have an opinion?
Well, first, to clarify, the episode ended with a suicide. Yes? Right. Which is interesting that they didn't go into at all. It just was. But me being the only non-sci-fi nerd here, I give it a 1 out of 5 Flotus chips because it was very sci-fi, and so I think that speaks to everybody else really liking the elements of sci-fi and me not, because there was a lot of the science explanations and lots of even though there was a lot of talking, a lot of the talking wasn't to me human development. It was like you said, how the crew runs together and how things work and that sort of thing. And I find that not very interesting to me. So.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. What you just said is the exact opposite of for those are all the reasons why I like this episode. I would put this episode in probably my top 10 or top 20. It's very pivotal to It really reveals the Romulan strategy overall, and how all the encounters are kind of based off of this. I enjoyed the forensic analysis. I almost kind of got the specialist vibe. As you said, Pat, everybody was doing their job really well, and so I geeked out on that. Additionally, too, I found it interesting how it opens with Data trying to explore humanity through a Shakespearean play where the king is in disguise acting as a frontline troop. And here we have the Defector where he's an admiral pretending to be a clerk.
I don't know why I just put that together in my head.
Yeah, and so there's a little bit of play off of each other there, but it doesn't resolve cleanly. I think that they could have gone into that analogy a little bit better. But of course, I don't know how that Shakespeare play ends, so maybe it was a perfect reproduction of that Shakespeare
play. Only we
play.
had an English major sitting right next to you.
An English major that liked Shakespeare. Oh, am I shaming you?
Do you like
I'm
Shakespeare?
iffy on Shakespeare.
You're iffy on Shakespeare?
I haven't read Henry V, no.
Okay. But like I said before, I would have to give this a 4 out of 5 or even a 5 out of 5 because it makes me feel good. I was engaged as a child. I love the special effects. As an adult, I love the complexity of the plot in the double play that Picard has at the end with the Klingons. It makes a lot more sense now than I was when a kid. When I watched this as a kid, I'm like, whoa, look at that. The Klingons showed up. That was lucky.
Yeah.
But now I realize, they have had those subtle interactions before. So that's kind of my take. How about you, Nigel?
I'd also give it 4 Flotus chips. I admit when I saw this episode originally, I didn't catch the Klingon references earlier, so when the Klingon chips just appeared at the end, it seemed a bit like a convenient, ill-used Deus Ex Machina. But I think for me, Jorek really makes the episode because one thing I wish they had done a little more was explore that sort of parallel between him and Picard.
Mm-hmm.
That scene there where Picard's revealing that he knows who Jorek is, and they have that little interaction. I think that was the highlight of the episode for me. And sorry to disagree with you, Jem. It was a real human interaction, human development kind of thing. So I think that's what makes it. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5 is I feel like we didn't spend enough time with the Romulans. It's mostly just through talking, and then that little scene at the end. But they're fascinating enough and interesting enough that I want to see more of them. And in a Romulan-centered episode, just seeing Jorek and then Tomalak at the very end was less than satisfying, but overall it was a good episode.
All right, cool. Well, there's our roundtable opinion. We've concluded yet another episode. Again, we'd like to wish you a Happy New Year's. With that being said, you can catch us on our Facebook page. NextGen, if you want to email us, it's nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com, and I think that's about it. So, with that said, have a wonderful day.
Why am I interviewing you guys?
So you're the guest.
So Sascha, what's a Star Trek
Hi,
Next
I'm the
Generation?
guest.
So Sascha, what is Star Trek?
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear, Broke for Free, As Colorful as Ever, Siesta by Jazar, Water Fountain by Lee Rosevier. Audio engineering by Sascha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirshner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.